Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like your self-worth was tied to what you saw? In a world flooded with unrealistic beauty standards, it's easy to feel like we're not enough. But what if I told you that shifting your mindset about your body could completely transform your self-esteem and your mental well-being? Today, we're diving deep into the connection between body image and self-esteem, why it matters, what the research says, and the practical steps you can take to build a healthier, more compassionate relationship with yourself. Let's break free from the negative self-talk and embrace the journey of self-love. Welcome to today's episode where we explore the profound link between body image and self-esteem. I'm Kristen, and I'm here to guide you through the science, strategies, and real-life tools that can help you nurture self-acceptance and confidence. Research shows that how we perceive our bodies impacts not just our mood, but our overall mental health. From self-compassion techniques to gratitude practices and intuitive eating, we're covering it all. So stick around because by the end of this episode, you're going to walk away with actionable steps and powerful insights to help you shift your mindset and start appreciating yourself exactly as you are. Buckle up. We're going to talk first about the link between body image and self-esteem. And I think people get confused about these two differences, so let's break them down. Body image is how we perceive our physical appearance, while self-esteem relates to our overall self-worth and our confidence. And these two aspects can be deeply interconnected. Studies have shown that negative body image can contribute to lower self-esteem, and that leads to a cycle of self-criticism, social withdrawal, and even really mental health disorders like depression and anxiety. So let's go a little bit into the research. There was a study published in the Journal of Youth and Adolescence that found that adolescents with poor body image were more likely to experience depressive symptoms and social anxiety. The National Eating Disorders Association also found that exposure to these unrealistic media portrayals can distort our self-perception and increase our body dissatisfaction. There's also cognitive behavioral therapy research that suggests that negative self-talk related to our body image reinforces this low self-esteem and emphasizes the need for cognitive restructuring. So based on this, we know that there is a link between body image and self-esteem. And in this episode, we're going to break down different techniques of how you can improve our body image and also improve our self-esteem. But I always want you guys to walk away with apps, tools, tricks, books, anything that can help you start your process and your journey with all of these concepts that I talk about. So first, we're going to go into some of the tools and the resources before we go into the techniques. So there are some apps that I found that can be very beneficial and I've given to clients to help with affirmations, mental health, body positivity. The first one I'm going to suggest is My Affirmations. It is a mobile app that is designed to help cultivate a positive mindset through daily affirmations. And users of the app can create and actually schedule personalized affirmations that are reminders throughout the day that boost your self-esteem and confidence. There's also Woebot, which is spelled W-O-E-B-O-T, and this is a cognitive behavioral therapy-based support. And so this is going to sound kind of interesting, but it is a chatbot, kind of like ChatGPT, but I'm going to tell you the difference here in a second, that is a mental health app that provides cognitive behavioral therapy techniques when you talk to it. And so it can help people manage their anxiety, depression, and their negative thought patterns through friendly conversations and evidence-based exercises. So what makes this different between like just talking to ChatGPT about your problems is this chatbot has been programmed to only use cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. So it is a really good way of having exercises and things thrown in a practical way that isn't using where ChatGPT has access to really everything. you're going to just get mental health support with this chatbot-based service. There's also Mirror, which is an app. It's about body positivity journaling. It's kind of a digital journal app that focuses on body positivity, but also self-acceptance. It provides these guided prompts, reflections, and gratitude exercises to improve body image and self-esteem. If you're looking for books, I would recommend The Body is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor. This book is really good as it challenges societal beauty standards and promotes this radical self-love. And Taylor really explores how body shame is tied to systemic oppression and provides a really framework for embracing and celebrating all of our bodies. There's also More Than a Body by Lexi and Lindsay Kite. These are twin sisters and also body image researchers. And this book really critiques the objectification of women's bodies in the media and in the culture. And it offers just some practical strategies for shifting the focus from appearance to body functionality and self-worth. If you like YouTube videos or TED Talks, there is a nice TED Talk called Why Thinking You're Ugly is Bad for You by Megan Ramsey. And Ramsey discusses that negative impact of poor body image on self-esteem, academic performance, and mental health. And she highlights these research on media influence and encourages fostering confidence through self-acceptance and education. I'll put a link in the show notes of all of these things if you're interested in exploring them more, but let's get into the techniques. So we're going to start off talking about the techniques for improving our body image. And the first one I want to talk about is self-compassion. And self-compassion involves treating yourself with kindness, understanding, and acceptance rather than harsh self-criticism. I love self-compassion because it provides this internal validation of our experience. If you don't know what really self-compassion looks like, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but I'm also going to do another podcast episode and also another blog post diving a lot deeper into self-compassion. But self-compassion, so compassion is really relation to our suffering. And if we have self-compassion, we're relating to our own suffering. So if something's happening in our life and we are struggling with it, if we internally validate our experience with our suffering, it decreases the intensity of the suffering. Now remember, we're still suffering, so the suffering's not necessarily going away, but if we can decrease the intensity of it, it makes it way more manageable, and it doesn't impact all these other aspects of our life because we can contain it. So an idea of what self-compassion could look like is I'm going to share a story. So I was about 8 or 9 months pregnant, and if anyone who's been pregnant knows, during the last 2 months of your pregnancy, it is very uncomfortable. And sitting for long periods of time or standing for long periods of time can be really painful and also can make you bloat in your legs, and it's just a really odd experience. So I was at my kids' karate and they were testing to see if they could go to a belt exam. And I'm just going to be honest, I was very angry and upset with my boys because it was very obvious that they did not practice. And I was upset because they were having to practice in order to test out, which made this experience of time that should have been 30, 40 minutes into an hour, hour and a half. And unfortunately, the karate place that we are at has very uncomfortable chairs. And so I was trying my hardest to not take out my anger and my uncomfortableness out on my kids. But at the same time, I was suffering. I was not doing well. My legs were bloating up. I needed to leave, but I couldn't leave my kids, right? So I just stood up and started walking around, and I just started talking to myself. And I said things like, anyone in your condition would feel exactly the way that you are. Or anyone who would be in this scenario or this situation would feel angry and upset just like you. Or anyone who was, 7, 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant, walking around trying to feel comfort would be just as upset as you. And it didn't necessarily take my anger or my frustration away, but it really allowed me to sit with this experience that what I was going through was normal, and that allowed me to dip into my own empathy which allowed me to empathize with my kids and just be there for support and guidance of what they needed, while also validating my own suffering instead of projecting my own suffering out on my children. So that's a good example of like what self-compassion can look like. It's very simple, very straightforward self-talk that you're doing. But I want to go into the research by Kristen Neff, who has shown that self-compassion really reduces body dissatisfaction and improves the self-esteem by promoting this positive self-talk and emotional resilience. There was also a 2018 study in the Mindfulness journal that found that self-compassion interventions significantly reduce body image concerns and eating disorders. There has been many research that shows that practicing self-compassion can reduce your anxiety, depression, and stress, while also increasing your resilience and your motivation. And self-compassion activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and that reduces these cortisol levels, or your stress hormones, and promotes this emotional regulation tied to it. So there's certain techniques that you can do, and Kristen Neff goes a lot more into detail into her book called Self-Compassion, and I'll put a link in the show notes for this. This book explores the concept of self-compassion, and it also provides tools and tricks of how to do it. And it argues that self-compassion provides a more stable and sustainable foundation for your self-worth. So some of the techniques that she provides in this book is called self-compassion breaks. So me getting up and walking around and having this quick talk with myself is considered a self-compassion break. You're taking a quick 3-step practice that involves acknowledging your suffering, recognizing some shared humanity, and then offering yourself some kindness. You can also write a self-compassion letter to yourself. It's kind of an exercise to reframe those negative thoughts and foster this self-kindness for you. You can also engage in guided meditations. I love using Brain FM, and Brain FM is like a neuroscience app that uses functional music to enhance focus, relaxation, and also meditation. And this app's unique approach to sound design can be particularly beneficial for self-compassion practices, and it promotes a deeper meditative state and reduces distractions. So if you're interested in learning more about self-compassion, I'll put a link for all of these things that we talked about, but this is a really good technique when you're thinking about improving your body image and looking at yourself in a more compassionate way. Next technique I really want to go over is cultivating gratitude for your body. If you're shifting focus from your appearance to the actual functionality of your body, it helps build more of a healthier relationship. And research suggests that gratitude really enhances mental well-being and lowers stress levels, and it also fosters a more positive mindset. There was a study in 2019 in the Journal of Positive Psychology that found that practicing gratitude improves body satisfaction and, again, your overall well-being. So there's some certain things that I wanted to go over when it comes to gratitude, and journaling is probably one of the most effective way to practice gratitude. You hear me talk about Clever Fox planners. Well, Clever Fox also has gratitude journals, and they're structured guided journals that are designed to help you cultivate a daily gratitude practice while also improving mindfulness and enhancing your overall well-being. And these journals are evidence-based gratitude exercises to kind of shift focus from stress and negativity to appreciation and positivity. So maintaining a gratitude journal and listing 3 things you appreciate about your body can help you cultivate this gratitude. I have a whole blog post and a whole podcast episode about cultivating gratitude. And it emphasizes that happiness is not really a passive state, but one that we can actively nurture through a practice of gratitude. So my blog post and my podcast episode highlights several benefits of cultivating gratitude: enhanced emotional well-being, improved physical health, strengthening relationships, and increasing resilience. And it also discusses how to incorporate gratitude into your daily life. And the blog posts and episodes really has a lot of practical strategies in it, and how to change your focus from, negativity or what's lacking to appreciating more abundance. So if you're interested in this, I'll put a link in the show notes to the blog post and the podcast episode if you want to dive deeper into gratitude. Mindful eating is something that I don't think we talk a lot enough about. And so I wanted to go into a little bit deeper about what mindful eating is And mindful eating can help develop like more of a healthier relationship with food and body awareness. And it's mostly focusing on the present moment and understanding your hunger cues rather than external influences. There was a review in Appetite that found that mindful eating significantly reduces binge eating and emotional eating. Research indicates that practicing this intuitive eating can lead to improved mental well-being, a healthier relationship with food, a reduction in disordered eating behaviors. And by focusing on these internal cues and also using self-compassion, individuals can cultivate a more balanced and a fulfilling approach to eating and your health. If you're looking for a book, Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Tribal and Elise Reich is a really good one. It introduces this non-dieting approach to help you develop a healthier relationship with food and your body. The authors are both dietitians, and they kind of present this intuitive eating as a framework that encourages listening to your internal hunger and your fullness cues rather than adhering to external diet rules. And also, providing an environment where you're eating without distractions and you're working on chewing slowly and really paying attention to the mindfulness of your flavors and your textures can really help slow down and create more of a mindful eating approach. If you're interested in learning more about this subject, I have a blog post and another podcast episode about nourishing your relationship with food and yourself. And this really discusses like the complex nature of like eating disorders and emphasizes the importance of body positivity in your recovery. So I go into a lot more detail about the different types of eating disorders, but then I also highlight the significance of like early intervention, noting like the recognizing signs of like severe weight fluctuations, preoccupation with food, the things that you should be looking out for. I also talk about, multidisciplinary treatment approaches to eating disorders and how to really go through recovery in the best way. But this really talks about suggesting the appreciation of your body's functionality and your uniqueness and alleviating that pressure to conform to societal beauty standards. And I also offer some practical steps to foster body positivity. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the show notes for that blog post and that podcast episode. Lastly, I want to talk about physical exercise. And I want to talk about how physical activity can be seen more as like punishment instead of joy. I feel like because we've eaten a certain way or our body looks a certain way, we have to punish ourselves with exercise and physical activity in order to make our body look the way we want to. And I want to shift our perspective of exercise as being more about joy and how our body moves and how it makes us feel. Because exercise is really well documented in mental health benefits. But I want to focus on shifting it from weight loss to joy and body appreciation and intrinsic motivation. There was a study in 2016 in the International Journal of Behavioral Nutrition and Physical Activity that found that individuals who exercise for just enjoyment rather than appearance had greater body satisfaction and adherence to movement routines. So basically more likely to stay consistent with sustainable exercise. So thinking about what kind of movement or exercise or physical things that you do that actually makes you feel good. And it could be probably more of like yoga, dancing, or even taking nature walks, hiking, that really promote this mindfulness that you're getting out of this exercise instead of punishing ourselves with exercise. If you're interested in learning about the mind-body connection, I have a blog post about strengthening the mind-body connection, and it explores how regular physical activity can enhance your mental well-being. And it emphasizes that exercise is really a powerful tool for improving your mood, reducing your stress, and building psychological resilience. So I'll put a link in the show notes if you're interested in exploring that a little further. Now we're going to move into techniques for boosting self-esteem. So the first technique I want to talk about is positive affirmations. And positive affirmations kind of help counteract that negative self-talk and kind of reinforce self-worth. There is neuroscientific research that shows that self-affirmations activate the brain's reward system, which enhances that self-perception. And there was a study in 2015 in the Social, Cognitive, and Affective Neuroscience Journal that found that affirmations activate the brain's ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which is associated with self-related processing and positive valuation. So an affirmation can look like, it usually starts with I am. So it could be I am enough, or I deserve love, I deserve respect. The thing, and I've talked about this in other podcast episodes, is the importance of using affirmations in the language that we already talk to ourselves. Because if we're saying things in a way that is not how we talk, it won't hit. It won't hit in the same way. And I think saying things like, I am enough, and we don't talk like that, we're going to be our biggest bullshit reader. And so recognizing that this is not the way I talk, it's going to set alarm bells off. So instead of saying like, I am enough, I could say, I'm good for who I am. I accept myself, or this is who I am right now. And so kind of using more neutral affirmations and then work towards positive affirmations tend to work a little bit more and help with sustainability and being able to actually reflect on what's being said. There is a good self-esteem workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. It has practical, like evidence-based, designed to help you build this like long-lasting self-esteem through cognitive and behavioral exercises. It's kind of rooted in that psychology and self-compassion principles that we've talked about earlier, but the book offers some tools for improving self-worth, reducing self-criticism, and fostering a more positive mindset, and I'll put a link in the description of the show notes for that one as well. Setting achievable goals can help with self-esteem because goal setting really enhances motivation and self-worth by providing you a sense of accomplishment and purpose. And research in positive psychology journals suggests that achieving incremental goals actually increases self-efficacy and long-term motivation. So breaking larger goals into small, more manageable steps and also celebrating and rewarding your progress is one of the most crucial things that we have to do with self-esteem and setting those achievable goals. I have a blog post called Navigating the New Year that offers really evidence-based strategies to set and achieve meaningful goals, especially within a new year, but also really with any goal that you're trying to accomplish. So this post really emphasizes the importance of crafting SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, and that kind of provides you with like a roadmap for how to be successful. I also created a podcast episode called Beyond Resolutions that kind of talks about the role of self-compassion in goal attainment and encouraging you to treat yourself with like kindness, especially when facing setbacks. And this approach fosters more of a resilience and reduces the likelihood of abandoning your goals, which tends to happen after a new year specifically. After it, and then it also kind of provides you some barriers and things that you can do for encountering those challenges when you come across those goals. Self-care is one of those things that can nurture both physical and mental well-being, but it also reinforces self-worth. And there was a study in Health Psychology Journal that found that engaging in self-care activities improves that stress resilience and also that self-esteem. And so it's really about dedicating attentional time for relaxing or activities that promote this idea to kind of help yourself. So it could be things like, your skincare, your routine, but it could be also like hobbies or things that bring enjoyment. But I also want to really hone in that self-care isn't always these nice, relaxing things. It could actually be things about taking care of ourselves. So having a morning, nightly routine, focusing on how we're transitioning from one thing to the next is considered self-care. I do have a blog post about coping with stress and like how to use self-care in, your everyday management of stress. And it kind of gives like a comprehensive guide to managing stress through various effective strategies that I offer. But then I also have a podcast episode with coping with stress too that discusses techniques and strategies for managing stress, such as like healthy lifestyle choices, time management, setting realistic expectations for yourself, disconnecting from technology. So I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to check out those two things as well. The last thing I want to discuss is about seeking support and professional support. Therapy can really be transformative, and it's a really good tool for reframing your negative thoughts and improving your self-worth. And CBT in particular is really highly effective in addressing body image issues and self-esteem struggles. There was a cognitive therapy research journal article that found that CBT significantly reduces negative body image and enhances self-esteem. So considering professional guidance from a therapist or joining a body positivity support group can be really helpful. I do have a blog post that talks about finding the right therapist for you. And it's kind of like a comprehensive roadmap to seek how to embark on this journey, because it really is a journey of finding someone that really fits with what you're looking for. And this post emphasizes the importance of self-reflection to really define what your needs and what your goals are before you ever begin the search for a therapist. Plus, it also helps discover some of the therapeutic approaches that might help with aligning in your personal challenges. I also have a podcast episode on how to find the right therapist that really highlights the significance of considering all these factors. Logistical details, financial aspects, sustaining the therapeutic relationship that really help encourages you to find your instincts and how you can trust someone and how important that is when you're developing a therapeutic relationship. And that strong therapeutic alliance is really foundational for effective therapy for you. So this podcast really goes into the decisions in selecting a therapist and how to find one that really fits your unique needs and how to foster that supportive environment for your healing. I also created an essential guide for finding the right therapist on our mindful materials on our website. And this is definitely a comprehensive resource to help you navigate this mental health journey. And this free guide really emphasizes the importance of understanding your needs and setting clear therapy goals to identify a therapist that really resonates with you. It has thoughtful questions and considerations, and it covers really various aspects of things to consider before you find a therapist. So if you want any of these tools, I will put the link in the show notes for you to follow up with. I'll put a link in the show notes for all of these things if you want to dive in a little bit deeper. I want you to walk away thinking about that your body is more than an image. It's actually your home. And the way we see ourselves impacts every part of our lives, from our confidence to our relationships to our mental well-being. But the good news is that we have the power to change the narrative. Through self-compassion, gratitude, mindful eating, joyful movement, and setting realistic goals, we can actually cultivate a self-esteem that isn't dependent on societal standards, but rather on self-acceptance and inner kindness. Remember, self-love isn't about perfection, it's about appreciation. If you found today's episode helpful, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who might need to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you want to dive deeper, check out the resources linked in my show notes. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep practicing kindness towards your body. And most importantly, know that you are enough exactly as you are. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next episode. This podcast may contain affiliate links, and if you click on these links and make a purchase, I may receive a small commission at no extra cost to you. I only recommend products and services that I personally use and believe will add value to you. Thank you for supporting the podcast.